I'll give you $1 million if you can heal me, he spat with a smirk, mocking the frail maid beside him. Everyone laughed, until she did something that made the room go silent, and the millionaire dropped to his knees. The room was filled with glass and steel, glimmering with wealth. Laughter bounced off the marble walls like echoes of pride. At the center stood Richard Mallow, a man who could buy almost anything, except peace. His voice sliced through the air, sharp and arrogant. I'll give you $1 million, if you can heal me, he sneered, tapping his cane twice on the floor. The crowd burst into laughter, their eyes turning toward the frail maid standing silently by the window. She didn't flinch. She didn't respond. She just kept folding the napkins one by one, her hands slow but certain. Her name was Lena. To them, she was just the help. But something about her silence unsettled Richard. He couldn't explain why, but it felt like she wasn't folding napkins. She was folding something deeper, his pride. Lena had worked in silence for 7 years at that mansion. She moved gently, spoke rarely, and watched everything. Her skin was weathered, her eyes dim from grief, but inside she carried storms no one saw. 10 years ago, she was a nurse in a war zone, working day and night in a field hospital that smelled of blood and metal. The screams never left her ears. The trembling hands of children still haunted her dreams. She lost her only son to a sniper's bullet while carrying another wounded child to safety. She never forgave herself for choosing duty over her boy. Since then, she spoke less and listened more. Not to words, but to pain. Because pain didn't lie. Richard's pain wasn't physical. His bones hurt, yes, but it was the type of ache that no medicine could cure. He'd seen every doctor from New York to Zurich, every therapist, every specialist. Nothing helped, but he never considered that healing might not come from science, but from someone who saw his soul. The more he mocked, the more Lena watched him. She saw through the silk suits and his trembling hands, through his anger and into the fear behind his eyes. That night, after the dinner guests were gone and silence returned to the mansion, Richard sat alone in his study. Lena stepped inside without knocking, holding a worn cloth bag. He looked up, irritated. "Did I ask for you?" "No," she replied softly. "But you asked to be healed." He laughed bitterly. "You think you're special? You think you know something they don't?" "No," she said again. "I just remember what they forgot." She placed a small object in his hand. It was a soldier's dog tag. Not his, not hers, but one that belonged to a man Richard once knew, his best friend from combat. A man who died saving Richard's life. A man Lena had tried to keep alive. Years ago, in that same dusty field hospital, Richard's hands trembled. You were there?" "I was the last to speak to him," Lena whispered. "He didn't scream. He asked me to find you, said you were hurting even back then." For the first time in years, Richard didn't have anything to say. Tears crept into the corners of his eyes like guests he had long evicted. "I don't want your money," she said, standing. "But if you truly want to heal, you need to stop running from what broke you." That night, Richard didn't sleep. He sat with the tag in his hand and silence in his chest. Not the empty silence of loneliness, but the heavy silence of awakening. Weeks passed. Richard stopped hosting parties. He started walking without his cane. He called his estranged daughter. He visited veterans' homes and donated quietly. And every week, he left a single white rose on Lena's cleaning cart without a word. One day, she found a note tucked beneath the rose. It read, "You healed me without touching me. Not all angels need wings. Some carry mops and memories." And, Beneath it, silent strength is the loudest kind. There are wounds deeper than skin, and sometimes healing doesn't come from hospitals, but from hearts that refuse to give up on others. What would you do if someone silently saved you? Comment below where you're watching from, share your thoughts on Lena's story, and subscribe for more powerful stories that honor unseen heroes.